Hey coffeepreneurs, I'm Brody, and this one really is for you. Coffee nerds, do feel free to tune in, but if you recall from my last video, I did an in-depth review or in-depth look at the Orea brewer, the version 2 specifically. But as I mentioned, I wanted to do another video going a little bit deeper into some of the backstory and how I believe that the founder, Orea, with an H, really applied a strategic method to getting his ideas out of his head onto paper and then out into the world. So today we are going to be exploring that method and how I believe he was able to turn his idea into reality. So this right here, this is the Lean Startup. And I'm not gonna do a full book review today, but I do feel like this book really applies to the Orea. And in fact, what it says on the back is, it really is about learning what your customers really want, about testing your vision continuously, adapting and adjusting before it's too late. And lean really just means, without the fat, or more efficient and without too much wastage. And so the Lean Startup method really is broken down into 3 main points. Obviously it goes a lot more elaborate. And if you've read this book, I'd love to hear some of your feedback in the comments below. What did you really take out of this book? What was the most profound insight? But for me, it was these 3 main points. So there are the vision, which is the starting, the learning, the experimenting, getting it off the ground. Steering, so how to test and measure what you're doing or what you're working on, and then accelerate, so growing, adapting, and innovating on your product, whether it's a digital product or a physical product. And that's kind of where this book comes in more on the tech side. So this is more geared towards tech startups. Maybe you're developing a digital product or some sort of software, but it can also be applied to physical products as well. It happens to be more geared towards, a tech startup or a bigger company that happens to be launching a new tech product. But there are a few caveats if you want to take the physical route, just like Orea did, but I'll get to that at the very end. So let's see how he specifically put this into practice with this brewer. So basically the Orea came as a bit of a follow-up project to an earlier brewer. He had been experimenting with creating something that you could really take on the go, especially camping, hiking, outdoorsy type stuff. And he said it was more of like a foldable conical brewer, probably somewhat similar to this. I didn't get a good look at the original design. If I do find the photo or if he sends it to me, I'll put it right here to show you, but this is a simple camping pour over as well. I use this sometimes, it's fun. But that's where he started from, and he started to get the feedback that he really wanted something that was gonna be able to draw down a lot faster and also more compact. He realized in giving it to people, sharing it with people, they wanted something that was a little bit easier to use at home. So that was the vision stage. The vision was getting his idea out into the world. He wanted a brewer that traveled, that you could pack away, but also be used, at home if you wanted to. The people sort of wanted the opposite. They wanted something that they could use at home day to day, and if they happen to go traveling, not all of us are completely nomadic, that they could take that with them at a given notice. And then at that time, since it was originally a conical brewer, he started developing the flat bottom design just to make it a little bit more fast in the drainage and what he describes as more brightness in the cup. So this really gets us into the steer stage. The second part that I've noticed from the Lean Startup method, and this is really about testing and measuring. And it also happens to be where I come into this story. So Orea reached out to me, we connected on Instagram, and he decided to send me the first version of the Orea. I spoke about that in the other video, so if you haven't seen it, it's up here in the top right corner. Click on it, check out the differences between the V2, V1, but the V1 was really that initial brewer. He sent it out to me and a handful of other home brewers, enthusiasts, coffee professionals, and we tested it out. We gave him a bunch of valuable feedback. I love how he prompted us with a bunch of questions. How would you use this? How wouldn't you use this? What are some of the drawbacks? And then he took that information and was able to use it in the development of his next brewer. And what I think is really great about the prototyping process, the early stages, the development of this brewer, is that they have a special way of doing that, which is quite similar to the digital method where you're constantly iterating. And what they do is they use a special process that uses resin, sort of high temperature resin, to create a mold, a 3D model, and then they test that. They use it, they brew with it, and they are able to test different designs until they're happy with it, and then they can put it into a slightly higher production with the metal, and they actually use a full block of aluminum to mill these, which is great because then they can melt down the excess and create another one straight from scratch. So that is a really interesting way to develop a physical product without having so much buy-in that you're committed to that product until you sell out of that version. That's just one way that a company can be a little bit more agile and lean in order to maintain that efficiency and move forward quickly. So that brings us to, as we get quicker and quicker, the acceleration phase, how that takes shape. This is really about growing, adapting, and innovating based on what people are saying, based on the feedback that you're getting in the real world. He made a few changes in order to get to version 2, and he's apparently even working on a version 3, but I can't talk too much about that right now. I also don't know too much about it, but that is coming down the chute. And so another important part of the acceleration stage is really about looking how people are using your product, as I mentioned, and how that influences how you market to them. So in the beginning, Orea really wanted to connect with this kind of more adventure, travel, hiking, sort of outdoorsy crowd. What he noticed, and maybe it had to do a lot with the pandemic as well, maybe more people were brewing at home, getting excited about that process, and in his marketing, it really took that direction. If you go to his Instagram feed, for example, it's a lot more focused on home brewing, and a lot of people are sending him photos or tagging him in them using the Orea at home. So it's really important to look at how people are using your product and market directly to them. You really have to double down on your strengths if you want to take your product to the next level, really accelerates, and look at what your audience really loves about what you do. Double down on that, and that is the end of the 3 strategies that I've picked out. Maybe you've picked out some other in hearing this story. I'd love to hear about them in the comments. But I did mention at the very beginning of this video, there are a few caveats when comparing tech to physical products and that startup method. One of them has to do with the way that people interact with drinks or food products or physical products is slightly different than the way they interact with digital products. If you're a tech startup, you can release a new software, a new product, even if you get people to pay for it and give it for free, and you can iterate on that. You can change the code, you can change the way people interact with it hundreds of times per day. Takes a lot of work, takes a lot of different coders and programmers, but you can do it. With a physical product, you have to be a lot closer to really nailing it sooner than later. Of course, you have to choose who you are releasing that product to. If you focus first on the innovators, the early adopters, the ones who just need that new thing, and they are willing to sacrifice sometimes time and price and convenience to have that new thing, to be one of the first. So that's a really great way to launch a physical product, but also keeping in mind that, especially with food products, if you're a coffee related company, you want to make sure that when people first try it, they are likely to come back. So that's one issue. If you launch something too soon and you can't iterate on it digitally, you want to make sure that it's there, and then that way you can kind of continue to develop your product on an upward trajectory. That's what I feel happened here with Orea, and he's done that by starting with a great product. I really got great use out of this version 1. I like both. They're not too different, but he's able to kind of just continuously make it better. So that's that. If you are a coffeepreneur, I would love to chat with you. If you have any sort of product or project that you're working on, I've left a link down in the description to my website, and you can just go in there, schedule a call. We can do a bit of brainstorming. Don't worry, I won't be charging you for any of that. I just love hearing about new, innovative coffee products. And so for the rest of you, do subscribe. Now would be a great time because we got a lot of new coffee content coming down the chute very soon, as usual. And I hope to see you in the next video. Hope to see you very soon. I hope to see you drinking a great coffee. I don't know how I would see that unless you tag me on Instagram. See you over there.